Shabomai. Welcome back to another video. Now in this video I want us to talk about self-care. Self-care is more than a bottle of wine and a bath. Self-care is bigger than a shopping spree, because I've noticed on social media a lot of you have self-care misinterpreted, or probably you think that's self-care, but I do believe self-care is bigger than that. So we are going to get into that and we'll see. Probably you will agree or you disagree, which is fine. Everyone has their opinion, but this is going to be my personal opinion, my personal views on self-care, because I've been going through a healing process, like general healing, and I had to do it for myself. So now with that I have been able to understand fully what self-care truly means. So I'm going to tell you all about it, what I think self-care is and what it is, because I do believe it's bigger than just the small little things. It's bigger and we should be paying more attention to self-care. A lot of you usually associate self-care to probably a trip, a spa, a day at the spa, which is fine. It is also part of self-care. All I'm trying to say is we should stop focusing on material things, especially as a form of self-care, because self-care to me involves bigger things, making the right decisions. Self-care, the foundation of self-care is self-love. So you can't occasionally love yourself on the weekends. So before we get into self-care and the details and give you my opinion, I truly believe, and I have learned this and I've seen this from myself, from personal experience, that personal self-care as it's famously called, the foundation of self-care is self-love. So unless there is self-love, these occasional self-care weekends to the spa, they are not doing anything. That is not caring for yourself, because self-care is a habit, it is a lifestyle. It is not an occasional thing you do. Self-care is, do you love yourself enough to know I'm not going to put myself in certain situations? Self-care is having a savings account because you are a responsible adult, you want to make sure you are safe financially, secure financially. Self-care is bigger than taking a bath. It's bigger than self-care Monday, Self-care is how do you speak to yourself, because one thing a lot of you forget is the way you speak to yourself matters a lot. So, and if you're watching this video, I want you to think about this. I want you to start talking better to yourself. The way you speak to yourself, the way you see yourself matters. That is also an important part of self-care. Self-care means you're not going to be out every day of the weekend bar hopping because you have priorities, you're busy, you're trying to get your life together. Because let me tell you something, and this is not shade or hate to anyone living that lifestyle, it is fine. But if you're going to do that lifestyle, make sure you are making money off it. Other than that, I want you to understand one thing, that partying lifestyle never ends. But you need to understand, as you grow older, things change and you can't be in that setting for the rest of your life, and it gets exhausting. It does. So anyone that you see in their late 40s that they have achieved a lot and they're still in clubs bar hopping, you understand that they have failed to heal, to take time to themselves, to reflect. So you cannot talk about self-care, whereby self-care, because you have self-care Mondays, self-care Sundays, you know. So self-care can't be occasional. Self-care has to be a habit. It has to be a daily thing. It is a way of life. It is a lifestyle. Okay? Self-care is knowing you have an addiction problem, because I know a lot of kids in Kampala right now are heavily using cocaine, and you know this is not for you. So you cannot say self-care, but you are out here snorting your life away, you know. And of course, I know there are reasons for all these addictions, but if you feel like you really, really care about yourself, that is why I insisted the foundation of self-care is self-love. Love yourself a little more, because you deserve to give yourself that love. It shouldn't be occasional. Self-care is knowing that every 4 days you have to change your pillowcase so that you don't get pimples. Self-care is knowing my home has to feel safe. My home has to be a safety nest, a comfortable haven for your spirit. Your home. Self-care is and I hope you guys don't get offended, and I hope you learn from it, because we are here to learn, because I'm also learning. I will learn from you guys, will learn from me. So self-care is bigger than those things. Self-care is knowing that you need to be comfortable enough to spend time with yourself. Self-care is knowing that a situation, friendship, relationship is toxic, and stepping away because you choose your peace. Self-care is finding yourself, choosing yourself over things, over people, over plans, over trips. You understand me? So every time people speak of self-care, I've noticed a lot of people, they're posting a bath, a face scrub, a body scrub. But if you have to do these things occasionally, why do you have to wait for a few days, a month, to show yourself love? Why can't you love yourself every day? Why can't you love yourself every day? Why can't you drink water more often every day? Why can't you detox? Why can't you eat healthy every day? Why is it that you can't have a fruit every day? That is self-care. Being able to have a fruit is self-care in itself, because you're looking after yourself. Being able to look at your life, take stock, and you know these decisions, you know, I've been living this lifestyle, I've been drinking and partying for the past 8-10 years, I've not gotten anything out of it. It's time to change the lifestyle. That is self-care. So self-care can't be just malls, you know. So self-care is more than that. Self-care is knowing you're not having multiple sexual partners because you know it is wrong and you're risking your life. Self-care means if you're going to have the multiple sexual partners, you are using protection, you're being responsible. That is called sexual responsibility. Being sexually responsible is also a form of self-care. It is self-love because you're looking after yourself. If you don't look after yourself, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to get love from anywhere else. So you first fix yourself. That is self-care. Self-care is fixing yourself. Self-care is letting go of your toxic traits. Let go of your toxic traits. Knowing I am grown, these have been toxic, I've been talking to people in a rude way for the past 10 years, it has not gotten me anything. Maybe it's time to change. That is self-care. Self-care is knowing you have to wake up and clean your house. Self-care is knowing you have to wash your panties, your undies, every time you shower so they don't pile up. Self-care is knowing what scrub works for your face, you know. Self-care is changing your bed sheets. Self-care is dusting your house. You understand me? Self-care is scrubbing that bathroom that you failed to scrub, but you shower in it. Why are you showering in a dirty bathroom? So every time you think of self-care, I want you to sit back and look at yourself. Are you talking to yourself nice? Don't talk kindly. If you're watching this and you've been doing that bad habit of talking to yourself in a negative way, change it, because the way you talk to yourself alters your perspective towards life. That's why a lot of you are getting into depression, and it's not cute, it is sad. So every time you look at self-care, make sure. That's why I hope a lot of you used this lockdown, or are using the lockdowns, the corona, being able to stay home. I hope you are using this time to sit back, sit with yourself, talk with yourself when there is no other background noise. You've had enough time to sit down and reflect. That is when you know there are parties that are no longer for me. You start to prioritize. Being able to prioritize and pay your bills is self-care. Yes. Being able to have a nice cooked meal in your home is a form of self-care. Being able to wake up and make yourself breakfast is self-care. Being able to wake up and clean your fridge is self-care. Clean out your closet, arrange your clothes, get rid of the clutter, making sure your house is organized, making sure you don't have dishes in the sink seated for days is a form of self-care. So self-care, before you speak of self-care, make sure there is self-love. How are you going to get this self-love? You have to seek healing. That is the reason you grow up and be an adult. You let go of all the toxic, you being an adult. Soon as you become an adult, you have a responsibility, you as yourself as an adult, a legal adult, to unlearn every toxic thing, yes, and educate yourself. Educating yourself is a form of self-care. You can't be myopic. Being myopic is a bad thing. Thinking ahead is a form of self-care. So let's learn to understand that self-care is bigger than these small things. Self-care is a child of self-love. So make sure in everything you do, there's self-love. You've healed, you've made peace with yourself, and you've found calmness within yourself. Because let me tell you something, until you find that calmness within yourself, until you find that peace within yourself, until you heal and settle, you are going to continue to make the wrong decisions, have the wrong friends for the wrong reasons, that type of thing, get in relationships for the wrong reasons. So if there is trauma, if you feel like it's bigger than, if you can't heal on yourself, if you can't make peace with what happened, self-care is knowing you need to go in therapy. Yes, there are therapists in the country in Kampala. I have a great therapist. I do go to therapy myself. So that is a form of self-care. So let's change the way we look at self-care. Self-care is knowing you have to open your windows, my darling, and let some oxygen into the house. Self-care is knowing you are no longer hanging around friends who have never supported your business, who have never talked about it, who've never genuinely been happy for you. That is self-care. So make sure you are selfish. I'm sorry to say this, it's bad, but being selfish is also self-care. Putting yourself first. So self-love. So let's change the way we look at self-love. So I hope this helps. I hope this will help you look at self-care different. If you feel a different type of way, you can always comment and probably it might open my eyes to something new, because I'm here to learn. I love learning, and I love to educate myself on things. So because I know I can't know everything, so you can educate me, my darling. So thank you for watching the video. Mwebale kuija watching the videos. Abakusubscribinga, mwebale kusubscribinga. Thank you for subscribing. Kindly continue to subscribe, like, comment, and share. This has been it from me, Life with Tushabomwe. Take care. See you in another video.